Short Story 128, The Interview, Chapter 2. The cloaked figure remained silent, his presence a constant threat hanging in the air. Mr. Blackwood, oblivious to Maya's growing unease, ushered her into a warmly lit study, lined with books from floor to ceiling. A crackling fire cast flickering shadows on the walls, adding to the already unsettling atmosphere. "Forgive Edgar," Mr. Blackwood said, gesturing towards the cloaked figure. "He's a bit protective." Maya managed a weak smile. "It's understandable," she stammered, her eyes darting from the fire to Edgar's imposing figure. Mr. Blackwood chuckled. "Now, let's get down to business, shall we? Tell me, Maya, what sparked your interest in my work?" As Maya launched into her carefully prepared questions about his writing process and inspiration, she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Edgar stood motionless, his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. Suddenly a loud crash echoed from upstairs. Mr. Blackwood frowned. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, his voice laced with concern. He hurried out of the room, leaving Maya alone with the silent, menacing Edgar. Heart pounding, Maya stole a glance at the window. The rain had stopped, leaving behind an inky blackness. Escape seemed impossible. A desperate plan began to form in her mind. Seizing the opportunity, Maya feigned a sudden need for the restroom. Edgar grunted but didn't move to stop her. As she scurried past him, she snatched a heavy silver candlestick from a nearby table, its weight a reassuring presence in her hand. Following the sound of Mr. Blackwood's voice, she navigated the dimly lit corridors. The air grew colder, and a faint metallic scent filled her nostrils. The sound of hushed voices led her to a hidden doorway tucked away at the end of a dark hallway. Taking a deep breath, Maya pushed the door open, revealing a hidden chamber lit by a single flickering oil lamp. Mr. Blackwood stood there, his back to her, hands bound behind him. A burly man with a thick beard and a cruel glint in his eye held a knife to Mr. Blackwood's throat. "Don't make a sound," the man snarled, his voice rough, "or the old man gets it." Maya's mind raced. She had stumbled into something far more sinister than a reclusive author's interview. This was a kidnapping, and she was now a pawn in a dangerous game. But fear wouldn't save her. With a surge of adrenaline, Maya lunged forward, smashing the candlestick against the back of the kidnapper's head. He cried out in surprise, dropping the knife. Mr. Blackwood wasted no time. He lunged for the knife and used it to cut the restraints. In the ensuing struggle, the lamp toppled over, plunging the room into darkness. Shouts and grunts filled the air as Maya grappled with the kidnapper, adrenaline masking her fear. A crash followed by a thud told her the kidnapper was down. Gasping for breath, Maya fumbled for the fallen lamp. In the dim light, she saw Mr. Blackwood kneeling beside the unconscious man. He looked at Maya, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Maya," he said, his voice hoarse. "You saved my life." The danger wasn't over, but for now they were alive. Together they had to figure out who was behind this, why, and how to escape the looming darkness of the Gothic mansion. The interview had taken an unexpected turn, and Maya knew the real story was just beginning. To be continued. Vocabulary notes. Crackle, a series of sharp snapping sounds. Example, a crackling fire cast flickering shadows on the walls. Unease, a feeling of worry or nervousness. Example, Maya's unease grew as Edgar remained silent. Candlestick, a holder for a candle. Example, Maya snatched a heavy silver candlestick from a nearby table. Hushed, very quiet. Example, the sound of hushed voices led her to a hidden doorway. Grunt, a low, deep sound made by someone who is exerting effort or is in pain. Example, a crash followed by a thud told her the kidnapper was down. Gasping, breathing heavily and quickly, especially because of exertion or surprise. Example, gasping for breath, may have fumbled for the fallen lamp. Story written by Google Bard AI. Image created by desgo.com AI.